Hey, I'm Sofia Martinez, 27, a freelance content creator from Austin, Texas. My parents have always treated me like the family disappointment, the dreamer who'd never make anything of herself. It all exploded in our family WhatsApp group. My mom and dad decided to go live on Instagram, showing off my older sister's corporate law career while completely dragging me through the mud. "Sophia's just wasting time making videos," my dad said, his voice dripping with disappointment. My mom added fuel to the fire. "That social media nonsense won't put food on the table." Family members flooded the chat with eye-roll emojis and harsh comments, each one cutting deeper than the last. I've built a successful digital agency working with major brands, but to them, I'm nothing, a joke. My hands trembled as I scrolled through their messages, my heart racing with the sting of betrayal. I left the group without saying a word, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Why do they celebrate her while destroying me? Months later, they came crawling back, desperate and humbled. But what happened next completely transformed our family dynamics. Stay with me. This story takes some incredible turns. Drop a comment below. Has your family ever dismissed your passion like this? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your experience. Growing up in Austin, Texas, I, Sofia Martinez, was the child who always colored inside the lines. As a young girl, I helped around the house, excelled in my assignments, and received warm hugs from my parents, Ricardo Martinez, an engineer, and Carmen Martinez, a college professor. My older sister Isabella, 3 years my senior, was the family star. Even as kids, she was constantly praised for her debate skills and ambitious goals. In those early years, our family felt solid. Weekend barbecues, movie nights, laughter echoing through our home. I believed we were unbreakable. Everything shifted when I entered high school. Isabella set her sights on law, a career path my parents viewed as the ultimate achievement. Ricardo would glow with pride, declaring, "My daughter is going to change the legal system." Carmen would nod, her face radiating approval. I chose content creation and digital marketing, diving deep into videography and storytelling. Suddenly, their warmth toward me evaporated. "Videos won't build a career," Dad announced at dinner one evening, his fork hanging in midair. Mom followed up. "You should have chosen something practical like Isabella." Their words pierced through me, but I shrugged them off, thinking they'd eventually understand. They never did. By the time I started community college, Isabella was their shining example. Her law school internships earned constant celebration, while my growing portfolio of client videos got dismissed with waves of the hand. "You're just playing around with cameras," Mom said once, completely ignoring the hours I'd invested in perfecting brand campaigns. Isabella began mirroring their attitude, throwing casual jabs like, "Still making your little videos?" Our sisterly connection, once strong, completely deteriorated. She'd use my equipment without permission, laugh at my concerns, and behave as if her career was the only path worth taking. I'd notice her smiling smugly when Mom and Dad compared us, always positioning me as second best. After graduating, Isabella secured a prestigious position at a law firm in Dallas, commuting from Austin. Ricardo and Carmen couldn't stop boasting. Neighbors, church members, even random people at Target heard about our successful daughter. My growing digital agency, however, was completely invisible to them. I'd established a strong client roster, working until dawn on brand videos and social campaigns, but they never inquired about it. Instead, Dad would grumble, "When are you getting a proper career?" Mom's go-to response was, "Isabella's making the family proud." Their favoritism wasn't hidden. It was a billboard advertising their preference. The hardest part? I still desperately wanted their recognition. I'd attend family gatherings hoping for even a crumb of acknowledgement. Instead, I received lectures about squandering my abilities while Isabella absorbed their worship. Once, I brought up a major contract I'd secured, creating content for a regional restaurant chain. Carmen barely glanced away from her plate. "That's pleasant, dear, but Isabella just won a significant case," she said, immediately redirecting to praise Isabella. My sister grinned, not even feigning interest in my achievements. I'd drive home from those dinners feeling invisible, my chest constricted with bitterness. It wasn't solely their words, it was the relentless comparisons. Every milestone of mine was measured against Isabella's, and I consistently fell short. If I purchased new camera gear, Dad would comment, "Isabella's saving for a house downtown." If a client praised my work, Mom would counter with Isabella's being considered for partner. Their voices replayed in my thoughts, making me doubt my value. I'd lie awake questioning why my passion for storytelling wasn't valid. Why was I the family afterthought? Reflecting now, I recognize how their favoritism molded me. It drove me to work relentlessly, to prove them mistaken, but it also created wounds. I'd constructed a career I was genuinely proud of, yet my own family perceived me as a failure. Isabella's entitled behavior didn't help matters. She'd become arrogant, acting as though she naturally deserved the spotlight. The affection we'd shared as children had vanished, replaced by an icy gap I couldn't repair. I kept wishing circumstances would transform, that they'd recognize my true value. But that hope was about to face its greatest test in ways I couldn't have predicted. My family's dismissal only intensified my determination. During my community college years, I connected with Marcus Chen, a business major with exceptional marketing instincts and creative vision. We bonded immediately over late-night editing sessions and innovative concepts. By my second year, we established our own digital agency, a modest setup operating from a shared workspace. Marcus managed client presentations while I devoted myself to producing videos, designing graphics, and developing social campaigns. We began with local Austin businesses, but quickly landed contracts with larger companies, fitness studios, tech startups, even a San Antonio marketing firm. By graduation, our agency was generating consistent revenue, enough to lease a proper office and bring on 3 part-time creators. I was living my dream, building something tangible, but my family remained completely oblivious. To them, I was simply wasting time online. Mom would glance into my workspace, observe me editing, and sigh, still glued to that laptop. Dad was more critical, constantly questioning when I'd get serious and pursue a career like Isabella's. My sister, now a successful attorney, enjoyed taking shots at me. "What's your follower count today, Sofia?" She'd mock over Sunday brunch. I attempted explaining my work once, presenting a compelling video campaign I'd created for a local coffee roaster. Mom watched for 30 seconds, shrugged, and remarked, "Isabella's working on million-dollar litigation." Ricardo didn't even watch, simply agreeing with whatever Mom said. Their indifference stung deeply, but I channeled it back into my next project. The reality was our agency was flourishing. Marcus and I maintained exhausting schedules, frequently working past 2 a.m., perfecting proposals and meeting tight deadlines. 11. Digital presence across all platforms. It was a $250,000 agreement, my largest achievement yet, and I was thrilled. I wanted to announce the news, hoping this time they'd feel proud. At a family cookout, I mentioned the project, my voice tentative but optimistic. Carmen interrupted me mid-sentence. "That's wonderful, but Isabella just made junior partner," she said, immediately gushing about her latest promotion. Isabella reclined smugly and added, "You'll reach that level eventually, little sis." I forced a grin, my stomach churning. They genuinely didn't care. Their words ignited something fierce within me. I immersed myself deeper into work, accepting more clients, elevating our agency to unprecedented levels. Marcus was my constant support, always pushing me forward. "They'll recognize it someday," he'd reassure me. But I wasn't convinced. My family's obsession with Isabella's achievements blinded them to mine completely. They'd label my late nights as scrolling social media, dismissing my dedication as a pastime. Once Dad observed me storyboarding on my tablet and scoffed, "Still fooling around with that video stuff?" I stopped attempting to correct their misconceptions. The breaking point arrived at a family dinner 2 months ago. I'd just completed a campaign for a wellness app that received outstanding client feedback and measurable results. I brought it up, thinking perhaps this occasion they'd actually listen. Ricardo barely acknowledged it, stating, "Isabella's representing a Fortune 500 company now." "That's substantial work," Isabella chuckled, interjecting, "Keep chasing those views, Sofia." Carmen patted her shoulder, beaming as though she'd received a Nobel Prize. I sat there, fork suspended, feeling like a stranger at my own family's table. Why was my success completely invisible to them? I departed early, vowing to myself I'd cease seeking their validation. Later that week, I'd been investing everything into my agency, determined to establish my worth despite my family's constant doubt. Then came the evening that pushed me beyond my breaking point. My parents decided to broadcast an Instagram live session, something they'd recently started for staying connected. Dad, always performing, stood in our living room boasting about my sister's latest legal victory. "Our daughter's making headlines in Dallas," he announced, grinning at his phone camera. Mom nodded enthusiastically, adding, "She's bringing honor to the Martinez name." The comments flooded in, neighbors, friends, even distant relatives celebrating Isabella's achievements. I watched on my phone, anticipating another round of their typical praise. Then it turned vicious. Mom glanced at Dad with a knowing smirk and said, "Unlike Sofia, who's still an unemployed video maker." The words struck like a physical blow. Dad laughed, escalating it. "Yeah, she's probably editing cat videos in her apartment right now." The live stream chat erupted with laughing emojis and cruel remarks. Uncle Miguel typed, "Get a real profession, Sofia," and Aunt Rosa added, "Kids these days have no ambition." My phone vibrated continuously with notifications from our family WhatsApp group. Mom had captured a screenshot from the live stream and posted it, captioning it, "Sofia's influencer career, LOL." Isabella immediately chimed in, messaging, "At least I'm not wasting my education on screens." Family members piled on with memes and insults, each one more cutting than before. My chest constricted, but I refused to respond. I couldn't give them that power. I stared at the group chat, their messages blurring through my tears and rage. They didn't merely dismiss my career, they broadcasted my humiliation to everyone in our social circle. I'd invested years building my agency, securing contracts they'd never bothered asking about. Yet here they were, publicly shaming me in front of hundreds. Isabella's smug message hurt most profoundly. She'd always projected superiority, but this crossed every line. I hovered over my keyboard, tempted to fire back, to reveal the $250,000 deal I'd just finalized. But what purpose would it serve? They'd never listened previously. Taking a deep breath, I exited the WhatsApp group, my finger shaking as I selected Leave Group. Silence followed immediately. Nobody noticed or cared about my departure. I threw myself into work, transforming my hurt into productive late-night creative sessions. My agency was my refuge, the singular space where I wasn't considered a disappointment. Marcus noticed my distress and pulled me aside after a client meeting. "They're completely wrong about you," he said, his voice unwavering. "You're absolutely crushing it, Sofia." I revealed everything: Mom and Dad's Instagram live humiliation, Isabella's taunts, the group chat attack. My voice fractured as I confessed how deeply it wounded me, how I'd perpetually hoped they'd acknowledge my value. Marcus listened intently, never interrupting, and when I finished, he squeezed my hand firmly. "You don't require their approval," he stated. "You've created this through your own talent and vision." His words provided a lifeline, anchoring me back to reality. I redoubled my commitment to our agency, refining campaigns and pursuing ambitious new clients. The humiliation from that Instagram broadcast lingered painfully, but I refused to let it define my trajectory. I'd demonstrate my worth through undeniable results, not desperate explanations. Mom attempted calling several days later, presumably to guilt-trip me into rejoining the chat, but I let it roll to voicemail. Dad sent a superficial text, "You doing okay?" but never mentioned their public stunt. Isabella predictably remained silent, likely basking in her moment of glory. I ignored them completely, concentrating on launching a campaign for an emerging tech company. My hustle became my response, What none of us anticipated was that Isabella's seemingly perfect world was fracturing beneath the surface, and the consequences would impact everyone harder than any Instagram humiliation. Several weeks later, my phone buzzed with an unexpected message from a contact who worked at Isabella's law firm in Dallas. "You need to see what's happening with your sister," she wrote. I initially dismissed it, assuming it was office gossip, but curiosity eventually overwhelmed me. I didn't have insider access, but my contact forwarded a leaked internal firm memo that had been circulating among partners and associates. It was absolutely devastating. Isabella had been manipulating client billing records, inflating hours to maximize her commission structure. Worse yet, she'd been embezzling firm funds to cover gambling debts, high-stakes poker games, and sports betting that had spiraled completely out of control. The memo outlined how a routine audit discovered the inconsistencies, and Isabella's name appeared throughout the evidence trail. By the following morning, the news spread rapidly. Isabella's firm terminated her employment immediately, citing severe ethical violations. Their legal team demanded she reimburse over $180,000 in misappropriated funds and falsified billings. I discovered this through a professional network chat. People were already discussing that Martinez attorney in Dallas legal circles. Back in Austin, the gossip multiplied exponentially. Neighbors who'd watched Mom and Dad's Instagram broadcast started avoiding them at neighborhood events. Ricardo, the respected engineer, and Carmen, the admired professor, suddenly became the parents of a disgraced attorney. Their church community stopped including them in social gatherings, and a local blog ran a piece hinting at the scandal without directly naming Isabella. The shame was overwhelming and inescapable. I anticipated my parents would contact me, perhaps to vent or seek emotional support, but they didn't reach out. Instead, I received a call from Dad's financial advisor who managed our family's investment account, a pooled fund established years earlier for emergencies and shared opportunities. He sounded distinctly uncomfortable. "Your parents are withdrawing substantial amounts from the account," he informed me. "They're covering Isabella's legal debts and restitution." I froze completely. That fund wasn't exclusively theirs. It included my contributions from years of freelance income, money I'd specifically allocated for expanding my agency's equipment and office space. I called Mom immediately, demanding clear explanations. "Isabella needs it more urgently," she snapped, her voice defensive and sharp. "She's facing serious legal consequences, Sofia. You wouldn't comprehend the gravity." I pushed back forcefully, my anger escalating. "That represents my money, too. I'm attempting to grow my business." Ricardo grabbed the phone, his tone icier than I'd ever experienced. "Family comes first. Sofia, Isabella's entire future hangs in the balance." They didn't inquire about my agency's needs or acknowledge that I'd contributed years of savings to that fund. They drained over 60% of it, $45,000 of my personal contributions, without a moment's consideration or consultation. I disconnected the call, absolutely stunned, feeling betrayed on a completely different level. Isabella, characteristically, didn't even bother calling to explain or apologize. She sent a single dismissive text. "Stay out of family business." Her arrogance made my blood boil with rage. The fallout across Austin intensified dramatically. Ricardo's engineering clients started terminating contracts, expressing concerns about his judgment and family integrity. Carmen's university colleagues grew distant and cold, and several parents formally requested their students be transferred from her courses. The community reputation they'd cultivated for decades crumbled alongside Isabella's destroyed career. I overheard someone at my regular coffee shop remark, "Guess the Martinez family isn't as perfect as they advertised." It should have provided vindictive satisfaction, but it didn't. I remained too furious about my stolen savings, too wounded by their decision to rescue Isabella while completely dismissing my legitimate needs. I confided everything to Marcus, my voice trembling with emotion as I explained the investment account situation. He was visibly furious but maintained composure, suggesting we consult the financial advisor to explore potential remedies. The answer proved discouraging. Since the account was jointly structured, my parents possessed legal withdrawal authority. I felt utterly powerless, watching my agency expansion dreams dissolve before my eyes. Nevertheless, I refused to let this destroy my spirit or momentum. I buried myself in intensive work, absolutely determined to rebuild what they'd taken from me. But Isabella wasn't finished creating chaos and destruction. She was preparing a move that would push our family dynamics to the ultimate breaking point. After my parents drained $45,000 of my savings from our joint family investment account to cover her gambling restitution, I couldn't remain silent any longer. I drove to their house in Austin, my hands clenching the steering wheel, determined to confront them directly about their choices. When I entered, Mom sat at the dining table, her face appearing drawn and exhausted. Dad positioned himself across from her, scrolling through his tablet, deliberately avoiding eye contact with me. "We need to discuss the investment account immediately," I stated, my voice controlled but unmistakably sharp. Carmen's head jerked upward defensively. "Your sister needs it more urgently, Sofia," she declared, her tone absolute and final. "She's confronting potential lawsuits and criminal charges." "You're doing fine with your little videos," I challenged them forcefully, my frustration erupting. "That represented my money equally. I've been saving specifically for my agency's expansion and equipment upgrades." Ricardo finally looked directly at me, his jaw visibly tight. "Family loyalty comes first, Sofia. Blood runs thicker than water, and Isabella needs us now." Their words struck like a physical assault, wielding guilt as a weapon to silence my legitimate concerns, as though my professional dreams held zero value or importance. I questioned why they hadn't consulted me beforehand, why they prioritized Isabella's self-created disaster over my carefully planned future. Mom's eyes narrowed coldly. "You're being incredibly selfish," she accused. "Isabella's our daughter, and she's experiencing a genuine crisis. You wouldn't understand true family loyalty or sacrifice." I stood there, absolutely speechless, their betrayal penetrating deeper with each passing moment. They didn't even inquire about my agency's current projects, or acknowledge that their unilateral decision had crippled my carefully developed business plans. I departed their house with my mind racing through possibilities and consequences. That same evening, I received an email from Isabella, a formal legal letter from an attorney's office accusing me of leaking her incriminating internal firm documents to sabotage her legal career and reputation. The letter demanded I immediately cease spreading defamatory information or face potential civil litigation. My stomach plummeted. I hadn't leaked anything to anyone outside my immediate circle. I'd only received the confidential memo from a concerned colleague. Isabella's audacity absolutely astounded me. She was deflecting blame for her own catastrophic failures directly onto me. I called Marcus immediately, my voice shaking as I read the threatening letter aloud. "She's desperately grasping at anything," Marcus responded, his tone calm but absolutely firm. "We'll fight this aggressively." Marcus connected me with Jennifer Park, an attorney in Austin who'd previously assisted one of our agency clients with a contract dispute. I met Ms. Park at her downtown office the following afternoon, presenting her with the threatening legal correspondence. She adjusted her reading glasses, examining it meticulously before responding. "This is complete nonsense," she stated, her voice professional and steady. "There's absolutely zero evidence supporting their claim that you leaked confidential documents. This is purely intimidation tactics." She explained that Isabella's attorney was likely banking on fear and intimidation, hoping I'd simply back down without challenging their baseless accusations. Jennifer drafted a comprehensive response, clearly citing the complete absence of supporting evidence and formally demanding they retract their groundless threat immediately. "You're entirely in the clear, Ms. Martinez," she assured me confidently. "They have absolutely nothing substantial." I experienced a momentary flicker of relief, but the painful sting of Isabella's betrayal persisted heavily. I contacted Mom and Dad once more, hoping they'd at minimum explain Isabella's aggressive legal move against me. Instead, Carmen doubled down defensively. "You shouldn't have interfered in her business affairs," she accused, her voice saturated with blame and deflection. "We're supposed to be a family, Sofia. You need to support your sister unconditionally during her crisis." Ricardo interjected sharply. "Stop making this situation more difficult for all of us." I couldn't process what I was hearing. They were actively siding with Isabella even after her blatant lies and false accusations against me. I disconnected the call, my heart heavy but my resolve absolutely strengthened. I wasn't the villain in this family drama, and I absolutely refused to let them paint me as one. Jennifer transmitted the formal response to Isabella's attorney, and within several days, they completely backed off their threat. The legal intimidation was entirely empty, precisely as she'd predicted with confidence. Marcus remained consistently by my side throughout this ordeal, checking in daily without fail, his support proving absolutely unwavering. "You're significantly stronger than they recognize," he told me, his hand reassuringly on mine. I nodded in agreement, but internally I had completely finished chasing their approval or validation. My parents had deliberately chosen Isabella over me repeatedly, and now she'd actively attempted to drag me into her self-created catastrophe. I channeled all my energy into the agency, absolutely determined to rebuild and exceed what they'd taken from me. But the final transformation was approaching rapidly, and it would fundamentally change everything permanently. The final transformation wasn't solely about Isabella's downfall. It centered on me reclaiming my entire life and identity. Following the confrontation regarding the investment account and her completely baseless legal threat, I understood I had to release my family's toxic influence entirely. Several months later, my agency secured an absolutely game-changing contract, a $400,000 comprehensive agreement to design and execute a complete digital marketing campaign for a national fitness brand expanding throughout Texas. Marcus and I worked relentlessly, recruiting 5 additional talented creators and upgrading to a premium office space to accommodate the dramatically increased workload. The client absolutely loved our innovative pitch and creative approach, and the campaign's measurable success positioned our agency prominently on the industry map. Marketing publications featured our work prominently, and premium clients began actively approaching us with substantial proposals. I'd not only rebuilt what my parents had taken, I'd exceeded it exponentially. I made a definitive choice I'd been avoiding for years out of misplaced family loyalty. I completely severed contact with my family. No more phone calls, no more messages, no more desperately hoping for their validation or approval. I blocked Mom and Dad's phone numbers and automatically deleted their emails without reading any content. Isabella attempted reaching out once, leaving a voicemail that sounded more like an entitled demand than any genuine apology. I didn't return her call. It wasn't an easy decision. Part of me still mourned for the family we'd once been during childhood. But I had completely finished being their emotional punching bag and scapegoat. My agency became my absolute focus, my chosen family where my value and contributions were never questioned or dismissed. Isabella's life continued unraveling progressively. After losing her legal career, she couldn't secure employment anywhere in Dallas's legal community. Her professional reputation was absolutely destroyed. She relocated back to Austin, living in Mom and Dad's guest room, surviving on irregular freelance paralegal work that barely covered basic expenses. The irony wasn't lost on me whatsoever, but it didn't provide the satisfaction I'd imagined. It simply felt profoundly sad and wasteful. Ricardo and Carmen's social standing in Austin continued deteriorating steadily. Dad's engineering consulting practice diminished significantly as clients departed, unwilling to associate with someone connected. To such public scandal, Mom's academic career suffered equally. University administration quietly suggested she consider early retirement, following parent complaints and departmental concerns. Their once proud community reputation had completely vanished, replaced by uncomfortable whispers and obvious pity wherever they appeared publicly. Meanwhile, my personal and professional life was advancing remarkably. Marcus proposed to me 8 months after the investment fund confrontation, during a quiet evening following a successful client presentation at our studio. I accepted immediately, my heart overflowing with genuine happiness and love. We married in an intimate ceremony overlooking Austin's downtown skyline, surrounded by friends and professional colleagues who'd become our authentic chosen family. Marcus's unwavering belief in my abilities never faltered from our college collaboration to this transformative moment. We established our home in a modern downtown apartment, successfully balancing our thriving agency operations with our life partnership. For the first time in my entire life, I felt genuinely free. Free from constant judgment, free from impossible comparisons, free to exist authentically as myself. Reflecting on this entire journey, I've learned something absolutely vital and life-changing. My worth isn't remotely tied to anyone else's approval or validation, not even my biological family's opinion. Their rejection ultimately pushed me to fight harder, to construct a life entirely on my own terms and values. I previously believed family meant everything unconditionally, but now I understand it's fundamentally about mutual respect and support. Respecting yourself must come first, always. Severing ties proved incredibly painful initially, but it provided the essential space to grow exponentially, to thrive professionally, and to love without impossible conditions or emotional manipulation. I'm not suggesting this represents the correct answer for everyone's situation, but for me personally, it was the only path to protect my mental health and peace. If you've ever been dismissed or diminished by the people who should lift you up and celebrate you, understand this truth. You don't need their validation to shine brilliantly and succeed. Build your own authentic path forward. Surround yourself exclusively with those who genuinely recognize and celebrate your value, and don't look back with regret. I'd genuinely love to hear your personal stories and experiences. Have you ever had to walk away from family to discover yourself? Drop a comment and share what you've learned through your journey.